something very dear to me and which has been very emotional. Looking at the recent events that have happened to me in terms of diagnosis, a positive COVID-19 status. Now, this is not something that should surprise people because globally there is a pandemic ongoing. And so it is not a surprise that one should be diagnosed. But when it comes to the fact that you seem to have a front line and or some kind of knowledge that should keep you away from such diagnosis, and then you become a victim, that can be very, very uh, distraught and unhappy experience, particularly for those who look up to me. Obviously, I didn't disappoint myself, neither did I disappoint anyone. This is really something that could happen to anyone, and the experience that I'm going to share is basically about what went well and which would actually help people because I think people are in a clamor of what should they do, should they be diagnosed. One of the big and bitter problem that I find and or a gap in the care for patients and for people around this time is the emotional support that is lacking. I think that the people who are looking after our health should think twice, and also governments should go beyond the disease and the pandemic and put some humane approach to this condition. I do not seem to have ready answers, but as a victim, what did I do? What should be done? Who should act, and how should they act? So when I got diagnosed with COVID-19, it was surprising because I had the vaccine about 3 days earlier. But again, do not be in a hurry to say that the vaccine caused a diagnosis for me or I became a victim to COVID-19 because I was vaccinated, because I know science better than that. What really happened was that I may have been exposed to COVID-19 virus before I had the vaccine because the incubation period takes about a minimum of 10 days. So very likely that although I was well enough and I had the vaccine, I was in the incubation period, and so the disease manifested thereafter. And it was basically like a kind of malaria fever, some kind of feeling of uh, kind of a stinging kind of feeling in my joints and some kind of mild headache and tiredness and stuff like that. And so I thought the vaccine was having a toll on me and I was getting too tired. And I wondered why that was the case because I thought you should have some symptoms of the vaccine for a few days and then you would go into developing some other problems or get better or something like that. Then I realized that a week on and I was still having symptoms. So I wondered what was happening. So it was a real bother to me. And then I thought about it, and my colleague said, "Go and do a test." And of course, it came back positive. And so I was told, "Go home and isolate." Of course, I had to be with my family. I had to go into a room. I had to stay there. They gave me food by bringing it to the door, and they left it, and I would take it and eat, and then they would come and take the plates. And sometimes when they're all gone to sleep, I will come out and do household chores for myself and take my showers and stuff like that. That was how I went through that. But the big challenge, which is the gap in care, I realize for those who are self-isolating, is the emotional torture. Of course, as a doctor, there is an anticipation, and or sometimes colleagues will call and find out how you're doing. But for a lay person, I don't know what people do when they are self-isolating because one, I knew some pathogenetic changes, and so the worry in my mind were one, what would happen next? Okay, is if, for example, I begin to have difficulty in breathing, would I recognize it? What should I be doing? And so on and so forth. So occasionally, I would, if I find a little bit of strength, I would jump and take some deep breaths in and out, and keep my breath up, and just be checking to be sure that my breath was actually still intact. I will try and call a few people That is because I can call, but some others can't call. So I could call and talk with people, and of course, from the other end of the phone, they will tell me whether I was sounding well or I wasn't sounding well. And they prayed with me, and they kept encouraging me. So many people came with so many ideas of what I should take and what I should not take. Of course, you do know, as when you become sick, you lose your idea to think about what should be done. Your science goes away, and so on. And so at that point, I do remember some professor who was ever sick, and then instead of thinking about what to do, of course, the professor lost all the ideas he had and had to be taken to a traditional herbalist for cure. And whatever happened, of course, you know the story is not good. But for me, I knew the science, I knew the things to do, but I had no idea what I should be doing. Of course, I checked my breath, like I said, to be sure it was still intact. I called people, I had chats. I was hacking some cough around my throat sometimes, and I was just trying my best to see that it was not getting worse. I had a bit of salt and warm water and gargle and cleared my throat at some points, which did help me really. And loved ones called me and told me what I should do, what I should not do, and so on and so forth. I did not take any of those azithromycin and stuff like that. All I knew was that I have always been an advocate for people to be on vitamin D and some kind of multivitamin, which is very good. This I have been taking even before COVID-19 came on board. And so, and I also believe that the reason why there is a kind of a low death rates from COVID-19 in people in Africans who are staying in Africa is because they're exposed to good vitamin D sources, which is the sunlight. And so vitamin D supplementation was an important thing I've always been taking, which actually may have actually mulled some of the experiences I had. And so the symptoms I had did not last very long. But the mental torture of what is going to happen next, what is the pending doom that is going to happen, who is going to am I going to die, am I going to develop complications, what is going to, so many things were running through my mind, and these things weren't easy at all. Of course we don't, and then there's this concept of cytokine storm, where when the fever stops, then suddenly some cytokines will just rise in your system, and you then start decompensating. And people have been had those kind of scenarios, and that was the real challenge. That was my bother. And I thought about, okay, family, and thought about, okay, my groups, so many of you loved ones that I've been interacting with, well, am I going to leave them? And I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I did speak with so many of you, and I did talk about the condition, the COVID-19, how we hand started, and so on and so forth. And I mentioned, are we going to die, and so on and so forth. And so it was playing on my mind. Of course, it took about 5 days or so, and then I started gaining my strength. I went on back to life again, returned to work, and started feeling fine. And that's it. What did I take? I didn't take any antibiotics. I took paracetamol, yes, and I took ibuprofen when I needed to. But my energy came back quite good. I felt strong when I returned to work. Now, but what was the reason? Why is the likelihood that I felt strong? I think that retrospectively, I overworked myself, did not have enough sleep, and was doing lots of work, sometimes working 6 days in a week, and more than 9 to 5, and was always doing some kind of web designing, e-learning platforms, and trying to solve people's problem, virtual consultations, so many things, and that was not easy for anyone. But I realized that that period when I was locked to stay in one place helped me. So take some rest, do a bit of exercise, keep a healthy life. So, what lessons have I learned? Maybe about five. I would remember if I can remember to tell you. For the things you should be doing, the 5 things that people should be doing that can be of help during this pandemic, I would say one, think about social distancing so that you don't get exposed to somebody else's virus. Two, cover your mouth and or thereafter, and make sure that you do not, if you're getting to be too close to somebody, just cover yourself and stay away from their troubles. Three, if you are at middle age, ensure that you are on some kind of multivitamin, some kind of some minerals or vitamin D or stuff like that, that will be a perpetual lifestyle, because you will not eat that, get this all in foods. A lot of our foods are refined. uh, for ensure you live a healthy lifestyle, engage in exercise, physical activity that will keep you healthy. And five, the vaccine. Of course, some of you may have reservations about the vaccine, but I tell you that the vaccine has a significant role, and it's going to be a very, very important role player at this time. Clearly, you can see that even in Europe, there's a clamor for vaccine. There's a fight about the vaccine. If it were not working, that would not be. I tell you that the vaccine is working. We already see numbers are declining in hospitals, and a lot because a lot of the people that were exposed have been vaccinated, and so the current uh, pandemic may soon be over if people take up the vaccine. The big challenge would be how much of it is going to be available. Those who are denying it already are doing favors to countries that are receiving it. So think twice before you start fighting the vaccine. Thank you very much for listening to me. I will appreciate you subscribing or follow me, and you can get updates of this nature. I run platforms on e-learning. I run platforms on hepatitis B. I run platforms, so many things that I do. I am the director of Worthy Works Limited, which does a lot on health education to people. Follow me, and you will be happy that you did. Thank you very much. Bye bye.